Vanquish Soul might just be the most underrated deck in the entire format, and it's going to be one of the best decks for Worlds. What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and welcome to another Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh video. Today we are talking about one of the most underrated decks in the entire format, being Vanquish Soul. The deck is extremely fun to play. The engine is extremely compact, allowing you to play up to about 20 different going second cards, whether they're hand traps or board breakers. It is absolutely phenomenal, and on top of that, you get so much advantage every single turn by playing this deck. Now, if you're excited for the video, then make sure to smash the like button, because at 75 likes, I'll bring an amazing combo guide for Vanquish Soul. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more amazing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. Now, without further ado, here's the best Vanquish Soul deck profile for the August 2023 competitive Yu-Gi-Oh format. Let's jump into it. So we're going to do something a little bit different than my usual deck profiles, because I don't actually own an in-paper Vanquish Soul deck, because I'd have to sell my left kidney to be able to actually afford it. That being said, in this video, I'm going to bring you the best parts about an online and an in-paper deck profile. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. The main playmaker of the deck is Vanquish Soul Raisin, which is your straddles for the archetype. On normal or special, lets you search for a Vanquish Soul monster, which is absolutely incredible, and then it has its second effect, which all Vanquish Soul monsters share. They have the ability to reveal a card in your hand and then apply an appropriate effect based on the attributes of the revealed monster. Now, the entire Vanquish Soul archetype is made up of fire, earth, and dark monsters, with a good mix of all of them in general. If you reveal a fire monster, then this card can't be destroyed by card effects this turn. And if you reveal a fire and a dark monster, then you can destroy all other monsters in this card's column. So if you place this card right under the EMZ, then you're going to be able to destroy up to 2 cards your opponent controls, which is absolutely incredible for advantage. The entire deck kind of revolves around getting to Raisin, because it is the way that you get access to basically your entire engine. Without it, the deck really struggles, so you're going to see that a lot of the strategy is just how quickly can we get to Raisin as soon as possible. And obviously, because it's the main playmaker of the deck and the card that you want to see in every single hand, this card we're playing at 3 copies. Another card we're playing at 3 copies is going to be Vanquish Soul Dr. Madlove, which is your spell and trap searcher for the deck. On normal or special, lets you search for a Vanquish Soul spell or trap, which is absolutely incredible. It's also a dark monster which comes in play for one of your big bosses. As a quick effect, if you reveal a dark monster in your hand, you can make one of your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense. Or if you reveal a dark and an earth monster, you can return to the hand a monster with the lowest defense that your opponent controls, which pairs amazingly with one of the cards I'm going to show you later on in this deck. Just absolutely incredible combo to have with this card with one more, which you're going to see later on. These two are your main level 4 monsters. Raisin and Dr. Madlove are absolutely incredible. You need to max them out as much as possible, and they're really good to get you access into your link plays, which are really powerful for this deck. Now, there is another level 4 monster that's part of the archetype, but I'll be honest, it's really not that good, so you only play 1 copy of it, and we're going to get to that later. Let's go ahead and start talking about some of the big boss monsters of the strategy, and one of the biggest ones, one of the best ones, is going to be Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius. This card, just like all the big Vanquish Soul monsters, has access to the following effect. In this case, for Caesar Valius, is going to be a non-dragon Vanquish Soul. You target it and then return it to the hand to special summon the copy of your Caesar Valius. This is a great way to dodge targeted effect negation like Infinite Impermanence. This card also has 2 amazing reveal effects in hand. If you reveal an Earth monster, you can make this card unaffected by your opponent's activated effects during the rest of the turn. And if you reveal an Earth, Dark, and Fire monster, you can non-targeting destroy a card your opponent controls. Both these effects are super easy to pull off and are really, really powerful. And on top of that, it's a 3000 attack body. It is so strong, and it is a free special summon as well, as long as you control another Vanquish Soul monster. Just a fantastic card all around, but we only play it at 2 copies because it is not even the best boss monster of the deck, and it can be a little bricky. One of the biggest problems the deck has is consistency, so having 3 copies of the Caesar Valius makes it a little bit tough to play around. That being said, though, the best boss monster of the strategy, and the card you want to really end your board on mostly, is going to be 3 copies of the Vanquish Soul Heavy Borger. This card also has the same effect as the Caesar Valius, where you can target, in this case, it's a non-machine Vanquish Soul monster, return it to the hand, and special summon this card. Really good to get a really solid 2500 attack body on the board. Level 7 Dark as well for Dr. Madlove. Really strong here. Its reveal effects, though, are what is really, really important. The first one it has, the main one that you're going to be using pretty much every single turn, is going to be the first one, where if you reveal a dark monster, quick effect, draw a card. That's it. Draw a card. Upstart Goblin for free. Absolutely fantastic. Such a powerful effect to have access to on a monster, because you play so many hand traps in this deck to interrupt your opponent on their turn, and even on your turn if they play something ridiculous that can just interact with you when it's your turn to play the game. The other effect it has is revealing an earth and a fire monster, and you can burn your opponent for 1500 points of damage. If you do that on your turn and on your opponent's turn as you go into time, that's 3000 points of damage you have to contend with, and you're going to win that game 3 in time. absolutely incredible. You want to play this card with 3 copies because not only is it a good bridge for certain cards like Small World, but it's just a fantastic card to end on, and you really want to see access to it. Looping this card and Caesar Valius are absolutely incredible to dodge targeted negation and have access to multiple copies of just big, powerful boss monsters. The one weakness to these cards though is that they can only be activated to special summon themselves in the main phase only, not during standby phase, not during battle phase, and it is a little unfortunate, but still very powerful nonetheless. Now there are a few other good Vanquished Soul monsters, but you really only play them for the name and of course just for the attributes they have access to. One of them is going to be another level 4 monster, being Vanquished Soul Pantera. This card here is an amazing bridge for cards like Small World. It's also a solid Earth target to have access to because your only Earth target other than this one is going to be your Caesar Valius. Then you have 3 Earth targets as part of your engine alone. You do only play 1 copy of this. It's got a pseudo Cyber Dragon type effect where if you have no monsters in your main monster zone, you can just special summon this card from your hand, which is obviously fantastic. And then its reveal effects aren't bad at all either. If you reveal an Earth monster, this card can't be destroyed by battle this turn, which doesn't really come up too often. But what's even better than that is if you reveal an Earth and a Fire, you can destroy all spells and traps in this card's column as well. So really powerful to just destroy some random floodgates you just can't happen to deal with. So keep that in mind as well. And that's one of the reasons why we play Pantera. The other card we play is the worst card in the deck, and it's going to be Vanquished Soul Pluton HG. Why do we play this card? It is a fire type monster. That's it. It's a level 6, it is a zombie, it is an amazing target for Small World, but it also has some really niche applications to it as well in the damage step. Pluton has a really weird summoning condition where only on your opponent's turn you can special summon this card out for free, assuming that you have no monsters in your main monster zone, or if all the monsters in your main monster zone are Vanquished Soul monsters, which is really solid to be able to get access to maybe a Tribute Father that you might need, or just a body on board in general, which is really nice, and you can always bounce it back as well for your copies of Caesar Valius or a copy of a card like Heavy Borger. Its biggest niche though is actually playing in the damage step, because if you reveal just a fire monster, this card can gain 3000 defense. But if you reveal a dark and an earth monster, this card gains 3000 attack, which can be used in the damage step, which is absolutely incredible to get over some problematic cards and not worry about some random effect negation. Obviously this card is another one of. That being said, this is your Vanquished Soul engine: 13 cards, 3 Raisin, 3 Madlib, 2 Caesar Valius, 3 Borger, 1 Pantera, and 1 Pluton. That is really all you need, and honestly, the deck is pretty good with just these 13 main deck monsters. Now let's go ahead and talk about some consistency pieces and of course our going second tools. For our going second tools, this deck really appreciates playing a lot of hand traps, and hand traps that are very generic, can be used on either player's turn, or that don't care if you have cards on the field. So that being said, we're going to start off, of course, with 3 copies of the best hand trap in this specific deck, being Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Not only is this card a fire monster for a card like Stake Your Soul, which is one of the best searchers for this deck, it's also a great target for Small World as a bridge, and on top of that, just providing just this blanket negation of cards being added to hand and to graveyard, special from deck, is really powerful. Just a fantastic card all around for this strategy that can be used on either player's turn. We then also have 2 copies of the Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. This card here is absolutely fantastic for the deck as well. The fact that it is an Earth monster is great for cards like the Caesar Valius, is great for cards like the Pantera, even cards like the Pluton if you really want it to be. In general, the card is great to stop your opponent from interacting with the graveyard, but we're only playing it at 2 copies because the main deck now is kind of tight. You want to play so many different cards in the deck, so having access to Pantera and access to Ghost Bell is enough Earths for now. We're then going to have access to 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird, which is going to be one of the best upcoming hand traps for this format. Honestly, Droll is really good at stopping a lot of different decks. Kind of shuts down decks like Manadian, shuts down decks like Dragon Link, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of really problematic decks that just kind of fold to Droll. And if you just draw Droll in the middle of your combo off of Heavy Borger on your opponent's turn, and then just slap that thing down, you're in a fantastic position. Same thing goes for Effect Veiler. We have 2 copies of Effect Veiler in the strategy as well. The reason why we have Effect Veiler over a card like Infinite Impermanence is because on our turn, it's pretty much, well, it's fine, it doesn't make a difference. But on our opponent's turn, that's when there's an issue. If we go Heavy Borger, draw into Veiler, well, that's amazing, we can use it. But if we draw into Imperm, we can't use it because we have cards on our field. And we can't activate Imperm from the hand if we have cards on our field. That shuts it down right there, and that's why you want to play 2 copies of Effect Veiler. So right there, that is going to be what? 9 hand traps, 3 Ash, 2 Bell, 2 Droll, and then 2 Veiler. And of course you can add and play around these ratios as your local sees fit. Now we do have other copies of some other going second cards that are really powerful as well. We are playing 2 copies of Dogoron the Mad Flame Kaiju. Specifically, the reason why we're playing Dogoron, not other cards, is because it has a really low defense stat at 1200, which you can return back to your hand with Mad Left to special summon again. So you can basically Kaiju twice your opponent. That's absolutely fantastic. And then of course we play two of the arguably the best going second card in the entire game, being Kashtira Fenrir. It is an earth monster, it is fantastic, it is a free special summon, and when you activate its effect, you can add another Fenrir from deck to hand, which means you now have an earth monster in your hand again, and of course you have the generic Kashtira Fenrir effects that you have to kind of banish cards your opponent has face down, which is absolutely amazing. Before we move on to talk about the spells, this is what the deck is currently looking like, and now we're going to go ahead and start adding in our consistency, starting off of course with the one copy of a Reinforcement of the Army. I told you guys before, the name of the game is get to Raisin as quickly as possible. Rhoda is just gets to Raisin, that's all it is. We then have access to 3 copies of Stake Your Soul. Stake Your Soul is the emergency teleport for the archetype. The way it works is you reveal a monster with an attribute in your hand. In this case, let's say, for example, a fire monster. Then you can special summon a monster, a Vanquish Soul monster from your deck with the same attribute but a different name. So if you go Stake Your Soul, reveal Ash Blossom, or Dogoran, or Pluton, that is a free special summon of a Raisin directly from the deck. So this is just a fantastic card. You have to play it at 3 copies. It is arguably the best card in the entire deck, outside of Raisin, or no, it is the best card in the deck because it gets you to the real best card in the deck, being Raisin. 3 copies of this card. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Vanquish Soul Continue, which is your monster reborn for the archetype. It is a Vanquish Soul spell or trap, which means you can search for it off of Dr. Madlove, and because you play 3 copies of Madlove, you only really need 2 copies of Continue. Essentially, it's a quick play spell that lets you pay 500 life points to either add a Vanquish Soul monster in your graveyard to your hand, or target that monster and special summon to your side of the field in defense position. So it's a really solid card here to be able to extend a bit further and also offer you protection and more just in general powerful plays because you have access to return the big monster to your hand and then special summon them back out by bouncing another Vanquish Soul monster. Really, really powerful effect. And now we have the final Vanquish Soul spell and trap in the deck, and that's going to be Vanquish Soul Dust Devil. It's another quick play spell that lets you target a Vanquish Soul monster you control, change its battle position, and then you can Book of Moon your opponent's board up to the number of monsters you control, Vanquish Soul monsters you control with different names. So if you have access to a Raisin, a Madlove, and a Caesar Valius, then that's 3 Book of Moons right there. And oh yeah, it doesn't even target, which is absolutely incredible. Just a fantastic card. You do want to only play that 1 copy right now. It's a solid card, but just comes up so rarely. You have a lot of advantage through your hand traps that you don't really want to be using this card that often. It's nice to have at 1, but really more than that is just too much. So the last 7 cards in the deck are all focused on one thing, and that's getting to Raisin as fast as possible. So let's go ahead and start talking about the consistency pieces and the strategy. Starting off with Infernoble Arms Durandal. This card here is an equip spell that when you equip to a monster, or just when it's equipped rather, you can activate the effect to search your deck to your hand a level 5 or lower Fire Warrior monster. And that's exactly what Raisin is, a level 4 Fire Warrior. And then of course this card will destroy itself. That's really the only reason you play it. This card here, plus Fenrir or any single normal summonable Vanquish Soul monster, leads to a way to get access to Raisin online, which is absolutely incredible. Just a fantastic card to have. Some builds played at 2 or even 3 copies. I think 1 is plenty for this specific build that I'm playing. We then have, of course, 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. If you guys didn't notice, the extra deck is kind of useless in this strategy outside of for 1 card. So having Prosperity is absolutely incredible to be able to just search your deck essentially for access to your Raisin. You can dig 6 deep to hopefully find that card, or to get access to a card that will get you that card, like a Stake Your Soul or a Rhoda, or even the next card, which is going to be 3 copies of Small World. Yeah, this deck has a lot of searching. Prosperity is great. Just make sure that you activate Prosperity. You don't activate Borger in the same turn because you can't actually draw the card. You can click the burn damage, but you just can't draw. So keep that in mind. Now, I mentioned Small World. Small World here is absolutely incredible, and I have a huge list of cards that can be used for Small World with the bridges. I'm going to show them on screen right now. So every single monster in the deck acts as a starter for Small World. Let's go ahead and just start off with Kashtira Fenrir. So if you start with Fenrir, your bridge is going to be Caesar Valius, Heavy Borger, or Pantera, and you get to Raisin. Ash Blossom will get you to Dogoran, and then to Raisin. Bell will get you to Pantera. Droll will get you to Ash Blossom, Valor will get you to Ash Blossom, Abystial, which are on the side deck, will get you to Pluton, which will get you to Raisin. If you go Madlove, that'll get you to Pantera. If you go Pantera, it'll get you to Madlove. If you go Caesar, it'll get you to Borger. And if you go Borger, it'll get you to Caesar. And if you go Pluton, it'll get you to Dogoran. If you go Dogoran, it'll get you to Pluton. Everything should have been on screen for you. If you guys are confused, I urge you to pause the video and take a look. Everything gets you to Raisin, which is absolutely incredible. So there you have it, a 40 card main deck for Vanquish Soul. This is what we're looking at right now. Now let's go ahead and move on to our extra deck. Now the extra deck has 15 spots in it, but I'll be honest, it really only needs 3, and that's for 3 copies of Rock of the Vanquisher. This is the Link 1 for the Vanquish Soul archetype. It has 0 attack, which is a little bit funky, but its continuous effect that it has on field is really powerful and kind of avoids the need for this thing to have any attack. While you control a Vanquish Soul monster, your opponent can only target monsters on the field with the highest attack for an attack. So for example, if you have Rock of the Vanquisher and a Raisin and a Caesar Valius, your opponent has to target the Caesar Valius for the attacks. On top of that, during the main phase, as a quick effect, you can either special summon a Vanquish Soul monster from your hand, or you can add a Vanquish Soul monster from your graveyard to your hand as well. Those are really powerful effects. Most of the time, you're going to be ending your board on a copy of Rock of the Vanquisher with at least a Heavy Borger, maybe a Caesar Valius, and possibly even a card like Raisin on your side of the field. You really want to have access to this card because it gets you so much advantage over the course of many turns. And it is definitely a must play at 3 copies. The rest of the extra deck isn't that important, but I have reasonings for every single card in this one just in case. Let's go ahead and start off with our Link 2s being the IP Masquerena. We have a Nightmare Cerberus and we have a Nightmare Phoenix. All 3 of these cards have a lot of utility. Nightmare Phoenix can be used to be able to pop back row, Nightmare Cerberus can be used to pop monsters, and then IP Masquerena can get you into another card being your Nightmare Unicorn on your opponent's turn for more interruption. Is this a very common play to see? Not really, but it still is not a bad engine to have in the extra deck. And then our final Link monster is going to be the 1 copy of the Access Code Talker, which you won't make very often. It's hard to make in this deck, to be honest, but you're going to have access to it eventually. You want to have it for just niche situations, so you might as well give it a try. That's it for the links. That's 8 Link monsters right there. Now we move on to our XCs, starting off with our Zeus package, which is going to be the 1 copy of Zodiac Chakanine, the 1 copy of Zodiac Borbo, and the 1 Zeus. If you go Chakanine, which is 2 level 4s. If you go Mad Love plus Mad Love or Mad Love plus Pantera or Pantera and Raisin or whatever into Chakanine, you overlay into your copy of Borbo. Now you have 3 materials on the Borbo. You can attack directly, and then you can go into Zeus for a 2-mat Zeus right there. Very powerful because any 2 level 4s will get you to 2-mat Zeus at any point in time, which is absolutely fantastic. We then have the 1 copy of Evil Storm Exciton Knight, which is just a niche card to have access to be able to kind of even the game state at least a little bit. And then of course we have Plan B itself. Baguska is here, just a fantastic card, just in case you need to just stall a bit more for a time. And our final 2 cards in the extra deck are going to be maybe a little bit weird to you guys, but they make a lot of sense. And the first one is going to be Baronne de Fleur, and the second one is going to be Psychic End Punisher. Now the reason why I want to go with these cards specifically is because they're level 10 and level 11 synchros, and the best of their kind. If you go with Heavy Borger with a level 3 tuner, like for example a Ghost Bell or an Ash Blossom, you have access to a level 10 synchro right there in Baronne. If you go with Caesar Valius, which is level 8, plus 1 of your level 3 tuners, you can now go into a level 11 synchro in Psychic and Punisher. So you have 2 really amazing cards. Honestly, I'd rather keep these than a lot of the Link monsters in the deck just in case, because once you get your engine going, you really don't need your normal summon anymore. Now for the side deck, I've kind of split this up between going first cards and going second cards. We're going to start off with the definite going first cards with 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. In case you guys didn't notice, the entire Vanquish Soul engine is completely different types. Raisin is a warrior, Mad Love is a fiend, the Caesar Valius is a dragon, Borger is a machine, Pantera is a beast warrior, and Pluton's a zombie. They're all different, so you can have all of them on the field and you're fine. As long as you don't have 2 of them on the field, you're covered. So it's a fantastic card to have access to. Also, once you do your first turn combo, you don't really need to use spell cards anymore, so why not play Anti-Spell Fragrance? So 3 copies of Tikaboo, 3 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance are absolutely fantastic in this strategy. All on top of that, we now play 3 copies of Bestials, 2 Magnamut, 1 Druid's Worm. The reason why we play this ratio here specifically is because we want to have access to some dark monsters for the Heavy Borger effect. It's great against decks like Branded, decent against decks like Labyrinth. Just a really solid card overall that gives you another body on the board, which is really nice for some Link plays, for some potential synchros, or whatever the case might be. In general, very solid cards that get you just even more advantage. We then have 3 copies of Kurikara Divine Carnage. This card here is absolutely fantastic. It is an amazing way to break through a Kashtira board, which is one of the best decks still in the TCG. On top of that, it is a fire monster, and it is a way to get access, or it is a bridge, a pseudo bridge, I'd say, to get access to Raisin, because this card here, you go with this into something like a Borger, which has 1500 defense, and then you can go into Raisin from there. You're pretty much covered. Just a fantastic card all around. And then finally, for spell and trap removal, we have the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster and the 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Now, these cards are fantastic for different reasons, but if you want to play Twin Twisters, you definitely can. I would recommend Cosmic Cyclone, though, for this specific strategy. And there you have it, the best Vanquish Soul deck for the August 2023 competitive Yu-Gi-Oh format. The deck is so much fun to play and pilot, so I highly recommend giving it a chance to play it online or in paper. Now, I mentioned earlier that this is the first time I'm doing a deck profile like this style over here, so if you guys enjoyed it, let me know down in the comments below. If you didn't, I would love to hear your feedback as to what I can do better, because this is a learning process still to see what we can do for this type of deck profile. And if you guys just want me to stick to paper deck profiles, I can make that work too. Just let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you enjoyed the video, then do me a favor and smash the like button, because at 75 likes, I'll bring you an amazing combo guide for Vanquish Soul with test hands. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the channel as well to see more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content from yours truly. Did you know that only 5% of my viewers are subscribed to the channel? So if you guys are part of the 95% of the viewers that are enjoying my content but not subscribed, then guys, make sure to hit that sub button. Now, as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time.